I can barely hear you. A little bit. Let me get the headphones and see what happens. Okay, kamasya, indriya pritir, jivasya, tattva jigyasa, narto, yash, cheha, karmavi, kamasyanindriya pritir, labo jiveta labata, jivasya tattva jigyasa, Haribol, jivasya tattva jigyasa, jivasya tattva jigyasa, narto yasya karma be, jigyasa tattva jigyasa, kamasya indriya pritir, labo jiveta tat yavata, jivasya tattva jigyasa, narto yasya karma be. Okay, you want to try it or go ahead to the word for word? Karma Sandriya Pritir Labo Jiveta Yavata Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa Narto Yascheha Karma Be. Okay. Kamaya Kamasya. Nindriya Pritir. Kamasya of desires. Of desires. Tattva Jigyas, no, excuse me. Nindriya Pritir. Senses. Priti. Satisfaction. Labha. Gain. Jivasya. Self-preservation. Yavata. So much so. Jivasya. of the living being. Tattva, the absolute truth. Jigyasa, inquiries. Not. And artha, end. Ya cha iha, whosoever else. Whosoever else. Karma be by occupational activities. Life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. Purports. The completely bewildered material civilization is wrongly directed towards the fulfillment of desires and sense gratification. In such civilization, in all spheres of life, the ultimate end is sense gratification. In politics, social service, altruism, philanthropy, and ultimately in religion or even in salvation, the very same tint of sense gratification is ever increasingly prominent. In the political field, the leaders of men fight with one another to fulfill their personal sense gratification, and voters adore the so-called leaders only when they promise sense gratification. As soon as the voters are dissatisfied in their own sense gratification, they dethrone the leaders. The leaders must always disappoint the voters by not satisfying their senses. The same is applicable in all their fields. No one is serious about the problems of life. Even those who are on the path of salvation desire to become one with the absolute truth and desire to commit spiritual suicide for sense gratification. But the Bhagavatam says that one should not live for sense gratification. One should satisfy the senses only for insomuch as required for self-preservation and not for sense gratification. Because the body is made of senses, which also require a certain amount of satisfaction, there are regulated directions for satisfaction of such senses. But the senses are not meant for unrestricted enjoyment. For example, marriage, or the combination of a man with a woman, is necessary for progeny, but is not meant for sense gratification. In the absence of voluntary restraint, there is propaganda to family planning, but foolish men do not know that family planning is automatically executed as soon as there is a search for the absolute truth. Seekers of the absolute truth Haribol, you there again? Haribol. Okay, I hear you much better now. Why don't you just read it? Well, truth seekers of the absolute truth are never allured by unnecessary engagements in sense gratification, because the serious students seeking the absolute truth are always overwhelmed by the work of researching the truth. In every sphere of life, therefore, the ultimate end must be seeking after the absolute truth, and that sort of engagement will make one happy because he will be less engaged in varieties of sense gratification, and what the absolute truth is explained as follows. All right. Thank you. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaur Avani Pracharni Nirvisesha Shunivadi Paschata Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Okay. So Prabhupada uses his language is such amazing language actually. The completely bewildered material civilization is wrongly directed towards the fulfillment of sense gratification. So that's obvious. Right? Like if you just go around, I'm visiting a tourist place in Bali. So when we walk around or drive, you see every advertisement is for sense gratification.
من به یه نقطه توریستی و گردشگری رفتم توی بالی و دور و برتون وقتی نگاه میکنید میبینید همه جا پر از تبلیغ برای ارضای حواس.
I saw one that says, trust your senses.
یه تبلیغ دیدم نوشته بودش که به حواس خودت اعتماد کن.
Of course, it was a restaurant, so if you're that means if you're hungry, if you feel like eating, if your tongue is itching because of something, then eat.
البته این تبلیغ یه رستوران بودش، در حقیقت می‌خواست بگه که اگر که تو زبونت حس گشنگی داره و می‌خوای یه چیزی بخوری بیا بخور.
So Prabhupada said, live to eat, don't eat to live.
پاپا میگن که زندگی کن تا بخوری، نه اینکه در حقیقت بخوری تا.
So in that way, the animals are better than the humans. Materially, they're quite good at maintaining their body. They only eat what they need.
میگن که در حقیقت حیوانات از این جهت از انسان‌ها خیلی برتری دارن، به خاطر اینکه در حقیقت حیوانات در همون حدی که باید بخورن میخورن.
Has anybody ever heard of animals of any kind making a restaurant?
آیا تا حالا شنیدین که یه حیوانی رفته باشه رستوران زده باشه؟
Inviting other animals to come and say, we have so many varieties of food here for you,
یا اینکه بیاد دوستاشو دعوت بکنه، حیوانای دیگر دعوت بکنه، بگه ما انواع غذاها رو داریم، بیان بریم اونجا بشینیم با هم دیگه بخوریم.
They just eat what they need. They don't kill and keep it around for years or something.
اونا فقط همون چیزی که لازم هستش میخورن، نمیرن حیوانی رو بکشن، اونا نگه دارن برای بعدن که بخوان استفادهش بکنن.
And even for sex, they only go for progeny.
حتی برای امور جنسی هم می‌بینیم که در حقیقت حیوانات فقط برای باردار کردن و در حقیقت فرزنددار شدن این کار انجام.
They don't have the freedom of the human being to just have sex all the time.
اونا اون آزادی بشر رو ندارن که همش بخوان زندگی جنسی رو همش داشته باشن، همیشه داشته باشن.
There's a season and then they get pregnant.
یه فصلی براش وجود داره و توی اون فصل باردار میشن.
The humans, we have to voluntarily control our senses.
این فقط انسان هستش که باید به صورت داوطلبانه حواس خودش رو کنترل کنه.
Eat less. Human life is not meant for living like animals. Mostly they're just looking for food, but that's just to maintain their bodies.
زندگی انسانی منظورش این نیستش که برای ارضای حواس باشه، به شبیه زندگی حیوانات باشه. یه مقداریش لازم هست برای نگه داشتن بدن.
So sometimes people, they speculate and wonder what's the difference. The human is just a rational animal or something.
بعضی مواقع بعضی از آدم‌ها اومدن شروع کردن به با ذهنشون جستجو کردن که چه تفاوتی بین انسان و حیوان هست. حیوان هم انسان همون حیوان در حقیقت منطقی و آخرت هست.
They wonder what's the difference.
هیچ هستن که تفاوت این دو تا چیه؟
So one difference is the human has so much freedom to eat whenever he wants, to have sex whenever he wants.
یه تفاوت جدیشون این هستش که انسان آزادی داره که هر چقدر که میخواد بخوره، هر چقدر که بخواد امور جنسی داشته باشه.
Most animals are either vegetarian or meat eaters.
اکثر حیوانات رو میبینیم که گیاهخوار هستن.
Carnivores or herbivores, right?
یا در حقیقت گوشتخوار هستن یا گیاهخوار.
But the humans are omnivores. You can eat anything. And they don't know what's good for them. They just because nowadays most people, well, not every country, but people don't really get hungry in the more wealthy countries. You cut off again? Haribol. Cut off again. Haribol. Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, yes.
Try to speak louder or closer to the microphone or something. So people are eating just, it's like entertainment, you know, they study the internet to find the most delicious restaurants or the best service or, you know, cheapest, depending what their mentality is.
مردم معمولا میرن برای در حقیقت تفریحات خود برای تفریح کردن یه جور تفریح میدونن غذا میرن تو اینترنت میگردن ببینن چه غذایی رو داره چه چیزی رو میتونن کجا برن بخورن.
And the expensive restaurant will offer so many different kinds of wine or so many different kinds of everything.
و رستوران‌های گرون قیمت انواع مختلف مشروبات الکلی و اینها رو در اختیار میذارن و خیلی چیزای دیگه.
So they're not really hungry, so they don't digest properly, you know.
واقعا خیلی وقتا آدم‌ها گرسنه نیستن فقط اینو به عنوان یه تفریح و بازی می‌بینن.
So this is the situation of the world today. So if a politician, they want to get elected, so they have to, you know, offer more sense gratification. We're going to make the economy boom. We're going to create more jobs, so you have more money. We're going to create a lot of holiday places for you.
سیاستمدارا میان کلی وعده‌های جالب میدن که ما بهتون پیشرفت اقتصادی میدیم اینا میدیم اونا میدیم و از این طریق رأی میارن.
We're going to make more and more sense gratification legal. We're going to license, you know, whatever you want to do. This is in Western countries. You know, we're going to be the most powerful nation. We're going to conquer every, you know, whatever it is. Right? So, anyway, Prabhupada is very strong because this is right out of the Bhagavatam. So, you know, whatever we do, we might have many different karma, many different kinds of work, but it should be directed towards the goal of understanding the absolute truth. So that's the difference, that the animals, they may come to the temple sometimes looking for food. Right? Special mercy for them somehow, whether they get prasadam. And actually, once in a while, there's an animal that just stays around, comes to kirtan every day. Yeah, they won't eat meat, you know, dogs, cows. So that's because they were devoting their last life, but somehow they did something sinful. But then even as a dog, they're directed to the temple. So we should give them prasadam also. We should take care of them. But the humans can decide, okay, I'm going to give up sense gratification and I'm going to, you know, take up spiritual life. We have that freedom. I read one book in high school. It affected me quite a bit. I didn't remember the name of it. It was, I don't know if they still talk about they're looking for the missing link that fills in between the apes and the humans. The novel, but so these scientists, they found some kind of a man-like ape or ape-like man or something. And they couldn't decide if it was a human being or an ape. So I don't know how they did it. I don't remember details that, but they somehow did a lot of experimenting or something. But their conclusion is very interesting. The conclusion was that human beings have some kind of religion. And animals don't have religion. And that's exactly what, Prabhupada is saying, that that's the only difference. That the animals and the humans, the sense gratification is the same: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. They have the same struggle for existence. So, but the humans have religion. That's the difference. Animals can make a house. Somehow they dig a hole in the ground, or they build a nest or something. Right? Even the ant, the tiny little ant, they make such an incredible, city. And they don't have to go to the university for city planning. Because the super soul guides them and they don't argue. Humans, we have the freedom to think, well, I think I know better. So that's the difference. So Bhakti Yoga is the perfect facility for Kali Yuga. And by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we have this chance to right away practice the topmost spiritual activities. Chanting the holy name, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's the real goal of anybody's spiritual practice, ultimately, is to come to the personal realization. But Lord Chaitanya is giving us a chance to come right away. So all we need to do is be thankful and then try our best to follow the Guru.
بهترین کاری که ما میتونیم بکنیم این هستش که شکرگزار
And Krishna, he appreciates our efforts even though we may not be perfect. Haribol. Are we still there? Looks like we're still there. Sorry, the YouTube people were having a lot of trouble with the Skype here. This country that we're talking to, they have a little trouble with the internet. All right? Back again, huh? God. Yeah, today's especially crazy, huh? Maybe we should try something other than Skype.
like what?
Well, there's one called Zoom. And it can have video, but at least when we used it, it seems like much less interference, very clear. Like something doesn't use as much broadband. You can look it up, in the App Store or something. And Zoom conference. There's other things called Zoom, but this is Zoom conference. All right, so we'll carry on here. Anyway, we have this great opportunity to utilize our human life, even though it's Kali Yuga and the human life is very short. So we can't practice all the stuff from previous ages. But we can get the result of other ages, people's thousands of years, or in a few minutes by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And trying to serve, but by whatever we can do. There's so many ways you can serve Krishna, just like you can serve a person. Right? And then, Tesham Satyati Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mam Upayanti Te. Krishna says, if someone is serving me regularly, then I give knowledge. We can't dig it up by ourselves. Krishna has to give it to us. And that's Krishna's causeless mercy. So this chapter, is full of these kind of very strong statements, but they're very simple and clear, And then the rest of the Bhagavatam is just explaining all these things in detail and giving examples. So Prabhupada mentions here, like marriage is not meant for sensuality. Marriage is meant to raise a nice family. Keep the man and woman out of trouble. But modern society, like India is one of the best examples, is promoting more and more sex life. but at the same time saying don't have very many, only have one or two children. Or, the modern people say, well, sex is natural. It is. So is eating, so many things are natural for different animals. Like the pigs, they have their natural food. When I was first going to Vrindavan, and we didn't have any facility, we were all living in this Fogel ashram, which is, I don't know, at least 1 kilometer, maybe more from the temple. And at that time, there wasn't almost nothing in between. In between there and the temple, the road was empty. Now it's full of, expensive restaurants and hotels, and so many shops. And Vrindavan is a very rural place. It just feels all over. So when we were walking the temple in the Mangal Artik, it was dark. And people passing stool on the side of the road. We couldn't see them because it's dark and there were no cars with lights going by. But we could hear the pigs rushing to eat the stool. And they were teaching their children, follow me, here's some fresh one, So that's natural for pigs, but not for humans. But pigs, they also have very indiscriminate sex. But, with their own mother, daughter, and now some humans think, yeah, that's good. No more hang up, no more stupid religious rules. So instead of teaching people to control their senses, they tell them, just eat whatever you want, we'll give you medicine to take care of it. In Japan, where I lived, they have so many different energy drinks and things. Expensive things that if you drink it, then you can be drunk, almost unconscious, and immediately be all right. They advertise like that. You can eat unlimitedly and take this medicine, and then no problem, you won't get indigestion. People believe it because they're just addicted to trying to enjoy their tongue. So every genuine religion, they advocate controlling your senses. And reducing your sense gratification, simplify your life. But now we have so-called religious preachers and telling people, God wants you to enjoy everything, prosperity. Don't worry, you'll be saved. Very demoniac. So it's actually very, very simple, because people think that would be hard, but if they get that higher taste, then they don't care about the other things. They're satisfied with Krishna, with chanting the holy name and doing service. And of course, we recommend reading the Bhagavad Gita regularly. Gauranga. Okay, back again. We never had this much trouble before. Haribol? Haribol? Oh, okay. I switched to a different instrument. It's on a different carrier, so maybe it'll be better.
Yes, now it is better. Your voice is better now.
Okay, so the Wi-Fi I have here it went completely out for 3 weeks, and now it's back, but it's still very bad. But the one telephone card I have is
oh, there's so many interruptions now.
I don't know where it's coming from.
Okay, now it is good.
All right, so that's the thing. There's so much trouble in life just to communicate. Even if we're in the same room, we'll have trouble hearing other people and listening to them.
Okay.
So
thank you.
Let's see if there's any question.
Yes, there's some question from Ashish Gorahari from Dallas.
Let's hear it.
Hare Krishna. I didn't have any question.
Okay. So no question?
He's the one that always had questions.
No. Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
How many are tuned in today?
Actually, now it is 4 people, but after that, I recorded the class and I sent to many people that cannot join the class. I will send them and they listen to the class.
Okay, I hope they'll be able to hear it.
Yes, they hear because
it's also on my Facebook page. I don't know if they could always hear it.
We actually have 3 people here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
It's like Japan, there'll be 2 or 3 people in the temple.
There's your voice is not clear, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. Anyway, let's stop because it's too much trouble today. Very frustrating.
Okay.
We'll try again next week. All right.
Try again.
Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you. Bye. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry all the trouble today. Maybe something came out of it.